Yes, he's keeping time over there.
Right? Good afternoon. We're here to talk about the elimination of the federally subsidized loans and the positive effect it will have on the higher educational system. The first significance claim is federally subsidized loans have a direct effect on tuition cost escalation. Institutions increase their tuitions in line with lending limits. Now, according to Peter J. Riley with Forbes magazine, and I quote, failure in the oversight that effectively causes Congress to make decisions without the interest of the borrowers being represented. Of course, lenders and schools claim that they have the interest of the students at heart, but their obvious financial motivations discount their credibility on this claim. Therefore, Congress continues to rubber stamp these legislative efforts, and schools quickly raise their tuitions to bump against the new lending ceilings. In other words, lenders, student loan lenders, lobby institutions and the federal government to increase lending limits, and institutions right after that increase their tuition rates. Financial institutions lobby educational institutions with financial gains. A few years back, there was a proposition that passed that's called the Sunshine Act, and this is back in May of 2007. Now, what was happening is lenders were actually giving gratuities to institutions to send them their student loans, and a law was enacted to stop this. The only problem is that there's no oversight. Now, this act passed in the House with the numbers of 414 to 3. Nothing ever passes that unanimously in the House. Okay. Thirdly, predatory lending practices increase the cost of education. According to Alan Colling, he wrote the book, The Student Loan Scam. He wrote this of the CEO of Sallie Mae. Oh, by the way, Sallie Mae is not a government entity; it is a private institution. Okay, and they are the ones that provide most of the student loans. Albert Lord, CEO of Sallie Mae, who ended a conference call with jittery investors by reassuring them that federally guaranteed student loans are still recession-proof, meaning that lenders, guarantors make far more money when students' defaults are still intact. In other words, during the recession about 2 years ago, this is actually 2009, investors were getting jittery and they were saying, hey, there's going to be a lot of student loan defaults. But Albert Lord quickly reminded them that all these student loans are federally guaranteed. That means that when students default, the lenders get their money and then they sell that loan to collection agencies. Okay, so I'm going to have to speed up here. Inherency. Because of the increased tuition costs and because of the predatory lending practices, unfortunately, student loans, students have accrued major student loans by the time they graduate on the average of $29,000, according to Larry Gordon of the LA Times. The average student makes about $46,000 after taxes is $30,000 plus all your cost of expenses of living. You're left with very little spending money, and you have to somehow pay the student loan. The next thing that happens is now students' default rates increase. Student loan default rates now are about at 8.8% higher than credit card rates. Credit card rates are about 6%. So, given all of this information, brings us to the next inherency claim of student loan bailout. We foresee that there's going to be a student loan bailout, much like the housing bailout. Student loan has exceeded, the student loan that are out on the market right now have exceeded $1 trillion. That's about 10% of our GDP. Now, we're going to have to bail out all these people that can't make their loans, and who's going to end up paying? It's Mr. Taxpayer, you and I. Now, how can we solve this problem? We can initiate consumer protection for student loans. Now, currently, student loans cannot be claimed off in bankruptcy. This is one of the things that puts responsibility not only on also the individual borrowing, but on the lenders. Now that they know that they just can't call Uncle Sam and say, hey, pay me this loan that people went to default, now they have to actually negotiate with students. If you're having a hard time, right now their position is that, so what? Go ahead and default, I'm going to get my money. If there's bankruptcy laws intact, they're going to actually hey, I can't make that payment right now, let's negotiate, let's do something. Because they know that instead of just getting their money, now they have to go through the bankruptcy process where they'll lose money instead of make money. Ending the current interest payments on subsidized loans. Right now, the federal government, as you know, if you have student loans, pays the interest rates on the loans, which means that without you even thinking about it, the taxpayers are actually paying about $36.2 billion a year in interest alone on all of these loans that we're paying. Now, in closing, the plan of action is to eliminate the federal subsidized loans and the loan system and stop the escalation of tuitions. Now, President Obama this May had a speech in Michigan where he put the universities in warning. And I quote, "We are putting colleges on notice. You can't assume that you'll just jack up tuition every single year. If you can't stop tuition from going up, the funding you get from taxpayers every year will go down." In other words, as you all know, it's a topic that's very much prominent in politics right now is a student loan. The current federal subsidized loan system is broken. We need to fix it. And I've proposed a few ways we can do that. Thank you very much.